All right, back for a little Tuesday mega panel action, and former DNC communications director, MSNBC political analyst, and lovely in purple, Karen Finney, Republican strategist, and a woman you can catch if you live in the New York area on New York One as some of their lefty-righty panel action. I saw it just the other night. I was watching you on New York One. It's very exciting for me. I was like, I know her. And then Matt Lewis, senior contributor to the Daily Caller, friend of mine and friend of America. Before we
lovely in purple,
and also lovely in purple. I meant no slight by not referencing how attractive you look in your purple.
You know, I picked this out. It goes with the outfit.
So handsome.
Thank you.
It's very spring. It's very April. It's the lavender. But I want to talk about the energy, some of the energy with the Massey, and I want to talk about this crazy Southwest thing with the airplane. Before we do that, quickly around the horn, one thing that I should think, or one thought I should have about this budget debate that I haven't had yet. You first.
No easy way to cut $6.2 trillion. Most of the money comes from from entitlements,
right.
defense spending,
and healthcare.
It's not easy to cut $6.2 trillion. I think there was a profile in courage. Paul Ryan was bold, no matter what Congressman Wiener says.
All right, we'll go here.
Great proposal for starting off the conversation, because basically all the Democrats have to say right now is we don't like it, but the Republicans just have to say, so what do you got?
All right, Karen, last word.
I think it's the difference between what is good policy and what is politics is really the debate that's happening, because frankly the whole budget debate is a little bit of folly at this point because we're tinkering around the edges, and the truth is decisions are being made on ideological lines, not necessarily on what's the best for the country.
All right, well, this one's not going anywhere, so we'll come back for it another time. Let's talk about energy safety for a second. 1 year from today, a year ago, the Upper Big Branch mine, remember that one? Massey Energy, miners trapped, dead, right? Then BP, remember that? That's anniversary's coming up. As we sit here, we're watching radioactive water be dumped into the Pacific Ocean on purpose by the Japanese authorities in order to create more room in the reservoirs for even more radioactive water. So they're basically saying, well, put the less radioactive water in the ocean and we make some room for this. With that said, the Mine Safety Protection Act, which came up after Massey, nowhere. Coal mine fatalities, deadliest year in 2010, going back to 92. There remain questions on virtually every energy asset. The fracking question, still unresolved. How can we move forward in a real energy debate, Karen, if we cannot restore faith in the energy regulators' relationship with the energy companies?
Well, but here's the problem. It's not just about restoring the faith. It's about making a decision. We know that there are calculated risks that are going to come with anything. We can try to mitigate those risks.
Get that.
And beyond, I mean, you know, one of the most disturbing things, frankly, after the Massey debacle was people said even if the regulators didn't make changes, they needed the job. They wouldn't care.
I'm not saying you can't get people to do desperate things that risk their lives when they're under economic pressure.
But then we can't demagogue about, you know, we're over-regulated and it's too expensive.
I get that. So what do you see, Susan, as obviously we're not up to par here?
Well, first of all, we're always a knee-jerk reaction to whatever the incident of the day is. I mean, you just outlined the coal mining act, you know, so going down that pike to now nuclear. But instead of just having, we'll investigate, we'll do this, and worrying about new regulations, they've got to break down and look at what they already have. I mean, people have to start saying, these are the regulations we have in place.
Do we enforce any of these?
And how are we going about enforcing them instead of adding another one to the pile? Because
or a new agency or whatever.
Right.
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, first I would echo what you had to say, which is that inherently energy is dangerous business. Whether it's nuclear energy, whether it's, you know, people going down into coal mines. I mean, I went to college in West Virginia, a special place in my heart for those people. So it's inherently tough, and they do us a service. It's a national security issue. But having said all of that, let's propose, I think, a different idea, a new idea that hasn't been discussed, which is empowering the workers a little bit more to be regulators. Well, so like in Japan, when they were beating us in the automotive industry, they had the ability to basically slow down the production of cars. They could basically pull things to a stop.
A line worker could intervene.
Exactly.
And you're saying empower the line workers in the energy environment to raise red flags.
I think it's something to think about.
What do you think about that?
You have to do it, though, in a way that there's not not fear of retribution.
Right,
Again,
exactly.
going back to West Virginia, that's what a lot of the coal miners have said. They were afraid to come forward because they were going to get in trouble or lose their jobs.
Well, if we're going to solve energy, we're going to have to solve this conversation.
But
quickly.
you also just, on your show last week, you finished up saying how you have to look at what the purpose is, what you're trying to fuel.
For your house,
whether,
for your car, for your bus station.
And maybe we re-break it up. Instead of having the energy czar, maybe we need to have transportation people.
Transportation fuel, residential housing, industrial manufacturing. There's different energy resources that are much more efficient for different uses, and we don't think about it that way.
And then re-regulating them under those.
All right, let's move on to Southwest. We're not going to solve energy. Maybe we can solve Southwest. The latest here, of course, Southwest, as you know, I've blown some holes in the planes. It happens. What are you going to do? It's bad, for your hair. But other than that, it's fine.
Are you making an insinuation about what happens?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, if you have long hair and you're in a convertible, it can get messed up.
Okay, good point.
I'm just saying, you don't want to have a hole in the plane.
You always have to hit the roof.
Yeah, you go into a big event or something. You want to get your hair done. You don't want to have a hole in the plane. They found 5 more of them. There's a bunch of different ways, obviously, you can go with this. I think you kind of found one of the more interesting tidbits on this, Susan, having to do with how we actually maintain some of the airplanes that we fly on.
Well, I believe it was reported just a few hours ago that a lot of these inspections are handled out of El Salvador. So that's probably not a really good idea if we're going to regulate our own fleet. And if other countries want to do it, but given the problems that we've had here, that's...
But haven't we been to this altar a few ways before, whether it is toy safety at Christmas with lead in the toys coming out of China, or the poisonous dog food that was coming out of China for a while there, or we take our airplanes to El Salvador, or whatever it might be, where basically the cost-saving incentive, Matt, of, I can get this done in El Salvador for half the price, or I can get this done in China for half the price, once again sacrifices human safety.
I also think this speaks to a larger problem, something that we're seeing repeat itself in politics in America, sadly, which is that we used to be able to do things. We used to be able to build bridges. We used to have planes that didn't fly apart. And frankly, I mean, it's an infrastructure question, really, is what it is. And I think it transcends, ideological divides. I'm taking the train today, but when I get on an airplane,
wait till your friends find out.
When I get on a plane, I want it to be safe, and I think we all, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you want those things to be
quickly. I got to take a break.
Again, I think it goes back to this question of regulation. Southwest would say we have to pay X amount to make sure that we meet the regulations, which means sometimes we have to have an older fleet so that we can make our margins and return.
And they're struggling already, since 9/11.
I get it.
I mean, they're already under such.
But maybe to the point you made actually a couple weeks ago, maybe things should just cost what they really cost. So if it costs more...
No. It's not that. I got to take a break, but I'll leave you at this.
Okay.
Things do cost what they actually cost.
I mean,
it's just you're not always paying the price.
I'd rather
we're like, let the guys in the Middle East pay it, or let the guys in West Virginia pay it, or whatever it is. We pay, as we all know.
I'll pay to not get my hair messed up.
But we don't pay. Let me take a break. I'm going to keep you guys. The mega panel stays after the break.